Do you mind if I call you a real veterana in the world of mezcal?
I sound like a chola. If you want.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. We're here for another episode of the Mezcal Buzz Experience. And today our special guest is Rocio Flores. We're talking right now, and I was like, can I call you a veterana? She's well established in the world of agave spirits and mezcal. So we're here to really learn about her journey, and her mission in spreading the knowledge and spreading the word about mezcales tradicionales, right?
Yep.
Thank you for being here with us. How are you feeling today?
Good, good. Thank you for inviting me. A veterana make me sound like a chola, which is yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I'm from Northeast LA. So I love what I do. I got into the world of mezcales probably 16 years ago. I really started drinking mezcal when maybe 20 years ago. Sitting down one afternoon with my grandfather in southern Jalisco. I was in my 20s. And that just gave up my age, right? Yeah, my 40s. So he was telling me about mezcales. He was making Ponche de Granada, which the base was mezcal, and we started drinking some mezcal. And then he brought out a couple of bottles that he had hidden, and he was telling me that it's one of the best things to drink, de avecitos, despacito. And I just love the smell, something about the smell. And I think when you're a baby in Mexico or in Jalisco, they put mezcal in your gums when you're teething. So I think it was recognition, maybe. I don't know, but something just, you know, made me recognize something. And I really loved it. And I started, looking for it. And later on, I really started traveling throughout southern Jalisco and learning more about it. And I opened up a mezcal bar down there. And then I relocated to Los Angeles, which is, my city. And I started doing private tastings just for my friends and family. And then Mescaling was born, and I was just doing educational little tastings and private events. And,
Let's pick that. Let's pick that apart a little bit. There is a bunch there. We're gonna pick that apart for sure. Let's start with our first mezcal. I'm gonna pour this. You mentioned it has to rest a little bit. So as I pour, can you tell us a bit about this? You work with different brands that you help promote. So let's hear a little.
yeah, I like to think of myself as an independent ambassador for traditional agave distillates, aka mezcales tradicionales. This is a Bacanora or Yaquiana. This is from the brand La Mata. And it's from Alamos, Sonora. I said let it rest a little because Bacanoras typically are at the beginning a little strong on the nose. And I believe it's because that angustifolia, grows in the desert, picture saguaros, very, very dry soil. And Alamos, Sonora, as you know, is up there. But this is actually, I made a mistake. This is not from Alamos. The one from Alamos was the one that we were trying the other day.
Okay.
Literally, yeah. This is the one from San Pedro de la Cueva, Sonora. And this is by Maestro Vinatero Abel and Genaro Encinas. So, but it's also an angustifolia, and they call it Yaquiana, and it's really tasty.
Cool. So I look forward to diving deep into more of the brands, especially as we let this sit and we're going to taste it now. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. So you took us from your childhood, back and forth from Jalisco to LA, and then the world of mezcal came in. Growing up with it, it led to, you mentioned a mezcaleria, and now you do private taste. Let's find the spot where mezcal really came in the sense that you wanted to do more with it, because it's ingrained in you. You have it in you. But what was it how did you start a mezcaleria? What led it to come to LA, and now what you're doing now? What could you tell us about that?
So the town where I grew up in southern Jalisco, it's called Zapotlán el Grande. It's now known as Ciudad Guzmán, and it's in southern Jalisco. And it's kind of like the biggest city after Guadalajara. And there's a lot of universities. So it's like a university town. There's a sede of University of Guadalajara. There's a Tecnológico. So a lot of the small communities, all the younger people go there to study. So it's a very, it's kind of like a hub for younger people. And I just couldn't understand why people were just drinking whiskeys and bad tequilas and ignoring this amazing drink, which was mezcal. And after me traveling through the pueblos and finding this amazing spirit, I said, we need a mezcalería. So I started putting together a little collection. I met a producer, and I opened up this bar, and all I sold was mezcales tradicionales from Jalisco and some from Oaxaca. At the time, there was not a lot available, even in Mexico. And Ponche de Granada and beer. That was it. So, people, the young people would come to the bar and they would ask for mixed drinks. And I would say, no, this is all we have. And I would try to educate them and teach them how to properly taste it and enjoy it. And the first one was always on the house. And then our bottles had no labels because I had a producer and it was something artisanal. So I was able to do it with license that it was for wine and beer because it was a regional product.
Okay.
So no labels. So I would just write down like Jodido, Chula, Llorona, and Sonajero. So that was like my brands. It was just my writing. So a few months after, people were really into it because I really taught them how to enjoy it. And people would come to the bar and give me 2 chulas, 1 jodido, 2 sonajeros. And what I did was, because Jalisco had been so, I'm going to say, corrupted by the tequila industry, people are now drinking very low ABV, low quality tequilas. So they were used to drinking, 30, 35 ABV. So I told the producer, I want you to do 35, 40, 45, that way we can walk them through what a traditional spirit is. And he said, you're crazy. This is not going to work. I love what you're doing. I'm going to give you the first production for free because muchacha me dijo, estás loca. And I said, oh, come on, let me show you what we can do. And that's what we did. And the people that learned little by little, then they were asked for a sonajero, which was the traditional one, the higher ABV. But unfortunately, my little dream lasted very little because, corruption and cartels were coming
Something
in.
put a stop to it.
Yeah. So
It was doing too good.
yeah,
Fast.
I was extorted and I had to
Okay.
change careers. I had to move around.
Okay.
But it was something really special because I really saw how I was changing the way people were seeing that spirit, because I would have people come to me and say, mezcal is for poor people. Mezcal is going to make you blind.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you have whiskeys? That's the drink. Why don't you have tequilas? And I kept telling them tequila was mezcal, and try to educate them. I would play art films on Wednesdays. I would have like open mics on Thursdays. It was a gallery. Also, it was a coffee shop in the daytime, and we would serve coffee that was produced in Amacueca and grown in Amacueca and roasted in town. Salsa nights on Saturdays. So it was like a very little cultural hub.
Yeah, I was going to say a cultural hub, a very regional thing where it seems like a lot of aspects and creativity, art, tradition was coming together there. And so, yeah, that brings a lot of people together. So
Yeah.
it was making noise.
It was
there.
making noise. And, when something makes noise, people pay attention, and good and bad people. So
Yeah. And so, is it enough resting?
Yeah,
Should we
of course.
take a little glance at that?
I think I told you last time we tried this that for me it smelled and tasted like a church because it smells like copal.
I was going to say
Palo Santo.
very herbal to me, but of how like a copal or palo santo, like that smell is like very earthy, organic, an organic smell. And so, I want to cut back to like what came next, but tell us a little bit about um the right now we have La Mata. We'll see other brands.
Mhm.
How do you choose who you've been working with? And let's considering the aspect of traditional mezcales and what that is.
So for me, it's very important to, work and highlight projects, brands, producers that are doing the good thing, right? Are trying and fighting to promote a traditional agave distillate, um, a mezcal tradicional campesino. So unfortunately, not many are doing this. And I don't work with a lot of people. And unfortunately, I have said no to many people that have asked me to promote them because, I get it. A lot of people are, it comes from a good place. Like they start a brand, they want to help someone back home or a friend, and they they follow their sample, um, which is tequila. And sometimes maybe they want to help a producer or a community that is already producing something which is amazing, and they come in with their marketing thinking that making it tequila way is going to be the way to sell it, and they just, instead of helping, they're ruining something that is already amazing. And they're messing with that gusto histórico, that historic taste that that producer is probably making since, generations. So for me, it's just very important to work with someone that aligns with what I've been trying to relay and what we're trying to protect, which is the preservation of this heritage drink, which is mezcales tradicionales campesinos.
And it's interesting. I love that mission, and it's a hard one. I'd say you have a big task ahead of you. I think, um, and I've discussed this with others. Like marketing is such a powerful tool in the hands of whoever's good at it,
Hmm.
whether it's in the good hands, the bad, the right hands, the wrong hands. And so, I think a lot of uh, talking about mezcal and agave spirits, like folklore wins, fantastic stories that appeal to like the masses quickly. And yeah, so a lot of bigger brands or bigger projects, like you said, I want to start a project. So in that race, it gets ahead and it starts spreading kind of misinformation or things where you I don't want to say you have to correct it, but kind of
Hmm.
going back and like re-educating people,
Yeah.
huh?
And we can't, unfortunately, we can't control that, right? And that is something that is going to continue to happen. And I see it as, you know, our mission to just teach whoever is willing to learn. And, we can't, todos se toman el mezcal que se merecen, right? As Ulises would say. So it's good mezcal is not for everyone. If it were, we wouldn't have it. So,
That's true. With that said, let's advance to a mezcal, and I want to ask as you tell us, what I'll ask after. Let's present this mezcal, what you brought for us today, as I'll pour some up.
yeah. So this is a cupreata. Oh no, what is it? Papalometl. So this is a papalometl from Puebla, and this is by our dear friends from Sinacantan Mezcal Murciélaga. It's now Murciélaga Mezcal, and from our dear friends Diana Pinzon and la maestra mezcalera badass Fabiola Munfil. And, I love their project. I think these badass mujeres are making waves with regenerating their land and proving that you can actually regenerate land and make something sustainable and amazing, right? And also profitable. So their project nowadays is mainly run by women. Um, Maestra Fabiola is like a fourth generation mezcalera. Diana is lead also and part of like Fondo Agavero, which is an amazing project in Mexico now. And, it's all about the preservation and taking care of the endemic species of agave and regenerating land. So I really love their project. And this is pretty amazing too. So,
And so, talking about like spreading the information and yeah, it's that one. I moved this one forward, and so I'll move them forward so we don't confuse. In this journey, oh, let me go back a little bit actually because we left off where you had the Mezcaleria, and a lot of people were coming. It was attracting um people. Hey, what was it called, and when did it become LA? Like when did you come here and start uh doing stuff?
So it was called Matame Poco a Poquito, Mezcalería. Um, and yeah, it was pretty amazing. I actually met one of my best friends in the mezcal world, Miguel Partida, the Chacolo um, maestro. He learned about my mezcaleria because it was making a little waves in southern Jalisco, and he's from Zapotitlan, which is one of the neighboring towns in the south. And one day he came in and he said, "Hey, I heard that this mezcaleria was opened, and I wanted to come by because I'm a mezcal producer, and would love for you to carry our product." And I was like, "Of course." And he brought up this whole lineup, which for me at the time, I had no idea that Jalisco had the diversity. I've, I had, there's a few different mezcales. I thought that different producers would have like different types of, mezcales, but not to that extent. I had a few mezcales from Oaxaca at the time. Marco, who was the one of the founders of Mezcaloteca, which now has the brand of Mezcalosfera. He had a different brand called A Punto de Veneno, Mezcal del Bueno, and I would buy mezcal from him. So I had some other Quishes and, Espadines, and that was like the high-end mezcal, right, from Oaxaca. And then I had the stuff from Jalisco. But when Miguel came in with this lineup of like 7, 8 different angustifolias, and then, the rodacantas, the Ixter amarillos, my mind was just like blown. I was like, what is this? Like, I was in love with it already, and learning that there was so much more diversity just in my backyard, it just blew my mind. And I knew that it I was not even scratching the surface. I still think that we haven't scratched the surface, right? So I just knew that was my calling. And
And that's interesting because it's just to think that there's that much variety of mezcales in Jalisco, while people hear Jalisco and they think
yeah,
one thing and it's tequila.
exactly.
So that to me is mind blowing in of itself right now, just to imagine that.
Yeah, and this was 16 years ago. Can you believe that? And I was just like, whoa. So for me, it was a mission to educate and to make the Mexicano understand, like, this is your heritage. You should be proud of it. You should protect it. You should enjoy it. And you should, cherish it, and make sure that you pay good money for it because it's something of quality, and it's something that we need to conserve and, help protect. So yeah, so then that's what happened. Around 2011, I had to relocate, so I came back to the States, and I was just in LA, Northeast LA, and I obviously always mezcal with
Veterana.
me. Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. Always had mezcal with me, and my friends would always. I love to cook, so I'm always hosting, and my friends would always come to my place, and I would always bring out the mezcalito and always be teaching them, and this is that, besito, besito, and then soon they were like, "Hey, could I bring my friend so you could teach him about mezcal? Could I bring my mom? Hey, could I'm like, guys, this is expensive stuff. Like, I can't be giving my mezcal. We'll pay you." And I'm like, well, I would have to go. At the time, there was not a lot out here. There was El Maguey, there was, a few brands, but, they were just not,
it was a little bit harder to put together
they were not
a
good.
nice. Okay.
What was here, what was available was not good. It was not good enough for me anyway. So I was like, no. So then I would take trips to Jalisco and then, or Oaxaca, and then bring stuff. And then I would have like private tastings, and I would just start like, okay, I'll do a private tasting for you. And, I would charge you $30, $40. Great. And then that's kind of like how Mezcal thing started. And then, just word of mouth. I really dislike to advertise. it's all about, very word of mouth. So people just would call me or hit me up, DM me. It's like, hey, somebody told me that you do this. Could you do a tasting for me? Yes, of course. And then,
Sounds like a quality over quantity
yeah,
type of.
for me, it's always about quality over quantity, 100%.
Yeah. Cool. And then I am gonna just comment on this mezcal really quick. It's delicious.
So this is a potatorum. So it's a papalometl. They call it in Puebla, but it's really, in Oaxaca they call papalometl tobalas. And tobalas have many different, or potatorum should I say, have many different varietals too.
To me, this is a very floral, but it has this nice acidity to it that it's like giving me like green apple or like grapes almost. Like the acidity on this one's phenomenal to me. In this odyssey of mezcal thing and the journey here, what has been some of the most common misconceptions that you find people have when thinking of mezcal or new people that come? Of course, like, oh, tequila's smoky
Right.
cousin, but like, what are maybe some deeper ones that you
So
encountered?
I think the the favorite one, or the one that I dislike the most, and it's the one that people that
The favorite one to dislike.
is, that mezcal is smoky, or someone, because I do tastings, right? And there's always someone in the group that says, well, I'll taste a little bit, but mezcal is not really my thing. It's too smoky. The flavor, it's just so strong. I can't. And I always tell them, it's actually not. Like, mezcal should not be smoky. If your mezcal is too smoky, it's probably not a good mezcal. The problem is you haven't tried a good mezcal. So let me walk you through the proper way of tasting a mezcal so I can change your mind. And I love popping people's cherries when it comes to mezcal. I love it. I love those people that I don't like mezcal, because I feel like I'm a preacher. I convert mezcaleros all the time, and they thank me afterwards. They either say, you've ruined my life, because now I have to, like, start drinking this, or now I have to get rid of all my tequila bottles that I have, or now I'm gonna have to spend money, because now I can't go back to the bad stuff. But yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that they think that their one experience they had with mezcal was a mixed drink margarita, and it was the smokiness, or they had some shitty mezcal, excuse my French, but that didn't taste good, and they either shoot it, or it was just a mezcal that had sugarcane alcohol, or who else, what other alcohols or additives, and it was just not nice.
Do you think that I 100% agree with what you're mentioning? And do you think that what people define as smokiness, do you think it's something that you get used to? I don't think personally, I think sometimes people think smokiness and there's a certain flavor profile in this guy, like a bitterness to it that I think sometimes you're like, it's smoky. It's smoky, and it might not even be smoke what they're defining. But do you think that that's an acquired taste, or like you said, people just have that in their head that
Well, I think that bad brands, or commercial brands, add smoke to their. I mean, there is a little hint of smoke in mezcal,
mm,
and it's because it's cooked underground, right? So there's wood, but depending on what use it's used and how it's cooked, it's gonna be. I think brands specifically might use mesquite, or specific woods to make it smokier, to hide something,
yeah,
because that's what they want, right? They want the spirit to be smoky. So I tell people, yeah, there might be a little hint of smoke because it is cooked underground, but and they use wood, but it depends on the wood they use. And then I have them taste either um it could be a tovala or a tepestate, or something completely different from Jalisco, or something from Durango or Sonora, completely different regions. And they'll be like, oh, wow, like, this has no smoke whatsoever. Like,
I like that reaction too that you mentioned. I like the way you put it. You're popping people's mezcal cherries, but it's
Sorry.
also it's that reaction they get when like their eyes open, that aha moment, like damn, it's not what I thought, or like I don't like this. Well, just try something different. It's like, hey, this one actually, like, right? It's not all mezcal is not for everybody, but there's something there. So when they do like, dang, okay, you know what? Okay, this one here opened my eyes, and like I do like it now or something. So that's a great way. I went ahead and pulled another off the shelf. Our next
Yeah.
taste here. I'll pour this up. Quish, can you tell us a bit?
Yeah, so this is a bottle of an Espadín by Maestra Paula Quino. And this is one of the producers that works for Quish, the brand Quish. Quish is a, pretty beloved brand. It's been one of the pioneering brands, um, in Oaxaca, and I really love it because it's a pioneering brand not only in highlighting art but also women. I think Quiche was the first brand to put women on the map and put women on their bottles. Maestra Reina Sanchez, Berta Vasquez, this is Paula Aquino, Feliz Monterrosa, my friend who's behind this brand. He's also a member of Maestros del Mezcal, which is a civil association composed of hundreds of maestros and maestras from all over Mexico. And they really care about design. They care about curating their bottles. I mean, I love their logo, which is the dance of the pollinators. Without them, we wouldn't have, agaves. It's a colibri and a murciélago, so a bat and a hummingbird. And yeah, quiche. A lot of people, when I do tastings, they get confused because, as you know, there's a Karwinski. They also call the varietal quiche, and they said, why do they call the brand quiche? It's confusing. And Feliz explained to me that because he wanted to honor the the underdog of the agaves. So he explained to me that, as we know, Karwinskis is an endemic species in Oaxaca, and for the longest time, when there was the actual boom of mezcal, which was when the Mexicans were drinking mezcal, I'm talking in the 60s, 70s, um, the palenques were producing mainly espadín, but the workers would wait until they were done their workday and distilling espadín, and then they would ask the patrones if they could use the palenque to distill their own. And they would use these agaves that, were growing vertically, bushy, that nobody wanted, and they were mainly used for fencing. Um, and they were the Karwinskis. So little did they know, right? It's amazing, beautiful expressions of Karwinskis. We have so many varietals. So it's the underdog of the agave. So he wanted to honor the quiche, which is the agave of the poor, he said.
That's
I love that
that's dope.
story.
I was gonna say that's a great anecdote
Yeah.
of that, and it's also great that we're tasting an espadín. I saw it's 51%, 400-liter batch.
A true espadín, may I ask.
Okay. What I was gonna say is you can't sleep on an espadín at the same time that it's like the most produced, uh, the most produced and used per capita, I guess we could say. So it kind of gets, I think, looked at sometimes like, oh, well, it's just an espadín. Like, check out all these other, but a good
Mm-hmm.
espadín, don't sleep on one,
Don't
right? I
sleep
mean,
on it, yes. When it's a true espadín that is made by, a maestro or maestra that knows what they're doing, it can be a beauty.
one of my favorite things about uh mezcales, or that I like in good mezcales, is the mouth feel. Like, yes, the aromas, yes, the flavors, but upon introducing to your mouth, like the sensations you get, both when it's in your mouth at first, you're swallowing it, you pass it, that retro breath. Um, I like noticing different mouth feels and different uh sensations you find.
Yeah.
Um, on going back to, we were talking about some of the misconceptions you mentioned, and I see that from your mezcaleria to your private dinners, we're going to talk about the events that have grown, that the Mezcal Por Siempre event as a tool. What's some of your favorite strategies, or what do you do to overcome these misconceptions, or what's your favorite use of like this wonderful anecdote that you mentioned here about the brand? Like, what are some of the techniques or ways that you like to overcome that and spread that knowledge that really sticks to people?
So I find that when having a tasting, I don't typically do like a setting of a class. It's more like storytelling.
Mm.
I think people love storytelling. So I also love to highlight, the brands, details of the brands, producers, because mostly I think that tastings that I've been through or I've gone to, they focus on, it tastes like this and, just flavor profiles and stills and, this was copper still, this and that. And I mean, yeah, whatever. We've heard it all, right? But I think people really connect with where this comes from, right? The Torah, the story behind the label, the story behind that woman that made this, the story behind the espadín, that it grows in, could be 6, 7, 10 years. That it's like you said, the most abused plant right now, right? All these little details, um, explaining to people that mezcales reproduce only once in their lifetime and then they die. Little details that they don't know about, so they appreciate. Felix also says that it's a ceremony of appreciation, right? So when we're drinking mezcal, we're not just drinking to drink. It's a ceremony of appreciation, not only for the plants, but for the culture behind it, the art behind it, the people that produced it, all the hands that came together to bring this beautiful, finished product to our tables. So I think that always gets people really connected. Also, as we know, when you drink mezcal, you're not drinking any other spirit that gets you drunk and stupid. When you drink mezcal, it gives you like a high. So all of a sudden, people want to talk and they want to engage in interesting conversations. And all of a sudden, the room, that's another thing I love, by the way, of doing tastings is the before and after. I almost want to start practicing like a before and after photo because it's so different. Like sometimes they come in like, oh, like, and then they loosen up and they just start talking about amazing things. And
I,
when I ask them about, not only what they're tasting, but what they're feeling and where are they going? Where's this taking you to? Because sometimes it takes them to a memory. It's really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that I mean, going back a little bit, yeah, I find that too, that it definitely awakens memories. It awakens like dreams. It's very faint sometimes, and you're just like, oh, there's something there.
Right.
But I was gonna say, if you guys have seen that meme where people are like, "Oh, my name is so and so, and this is my first drink of the night. My
Oh,
cousin is my," and by the end, you see how those drinks end like this is, or how they end. But that's kind of cool. Like, yeah, this is like my third mezcal. This is,
yeah.
and like I feel happier. But yeah, that's awesome. Um, Rocio, when you have gone on different trips, different places, and you've been learning too, what has been some, for you personally, some standout maybe experiences or other anecdotes that you've seen that have stuck with you for?
Well, I mean, it's so vast, right? I mean, Mexico is so big and we have 32 states and about 21, 22 of them are producer of some kind of agave distillate. I haven't traveled them all, unfortunately. I still need to travel through a lot. I do spend a lot of time in Jalisco because that's my home state. I have traveled through Oaxaca too. But in Jalisco, I'll tell you this story. Years ago, I was traveling with one of my friends, and we came to this little remote town in the Sierra in Jalisco, kind of like I would say southwest, and we were going into this cantina, and you go into this cantinas, and it's like going back 50 years ago. There's only men there. I mean, the place was old. And we sat at the bar and everybody was looking at us. And I asked the man, I said, do you have any mezcal or raicilla? He's like, yeah. So he brings from the bottom a unmarked bottle, of course, and he pours. And it was a really yummy mezcal. And I asked, if who made it and if there was a place where we could buy a bottle or if he sold bottles. And he says, no, I don't have any, but you can go visit the maestra. And I'm like, maestra? Female? Yeah, she lives, like 20 minutes from here. And I'm like, okay. sure. How can we get there? It's like, oh, just go take that road, 20 minutes up the road. So an hour and a half later, and asking a bunch of people, we finally find her. And, I think Mexico is known to have one of the most hospitable people in the world. I mean, mi casa es tu casa is not just a saying. And I think Mexicanos, we are very hospitable until you do us wrong, of course. Um, and I came into this little ranchito, and this lady welcomes us, and she's there, taking a little nap. She was distilling at the time. There's a little lake by her little ranchito, and I say, hey, we're here, because the guy at the cantina sent us. I really would love to buy some mezcal from you. I work with mezcal. So, she sat down. She told me her whole life story, why she became a mezcalera. Um, Her husband had an accident with one of her sons, and they passed. So she had to, pretty much survive. So she started producing, and she has like 4 left kids, and she had to do something. She sent one of those kids to fish for us. They brought back some fish, and she grilled them for us. And we just spent one of the best afternoons, listening to her life stories, listening to music, and eating pescado asado and drinking mezcalito. But I think one of the things I found is precisely that I think women have been in the background forever when it comes to the production of mezcal, but they get very little recognition. And it happens everywhere, right? In every region. The same happened when another story traveling through Oaxaca, Miahuatlan, with the Jarquin family. I was there to help one of my friends who's a distributor. We were there to pick a batch, and I was there talking to the maestro, the son, and the dad, and I was asking the questions, and they were telling me all about the batch and this and that. And then all of a sudden, I hear this little voice in the background, and she's like, "Yo les enseñé todo lo que saben." And I'm like, "Who's that?" And it was the mom, and I said, "Oh, entonces debo estar hablando con usted." So she said, I taught them everything they know. And I said, "Oh, so I should be talking to you." And then she told me, "Yeah, it was my dad who was the mezcal producer, and I just taught these guys everything they know." So I'm like, and by the way, that's one of my favorite mezcales, that family. I always call it like my death row mezcal, because if I were on death row, I would have one of their mezcales for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Although this is one of my favorites right now.
What do we have here? I'm gonna pour this one up.
Yeah. So this is a blend of what is it? Is it 1, 2? Let me see here. I don't even know how many. So it's cimarrón y cenizo, 3. So there's three agaves there. From southern Jalisco. It's a beauty. This is by the brand of Mesonte. This is one of the pioneer brands also in Jalisco. My friend Pedro Jimenez is behind this Colectivo project, and he brings amazing expressions from all over Jalisco, from north to west to south. And it's some other things from Michoacán also, and some from Oaxaca, but mainly Jalisco. This is from Tomás Virgen, and it has Ixtero Amarillo, which is a Rodacanta, and then it has 2 other varieties of Angustifolia from southern Jalisco, which on the nose is just amazing. I mean, it's like peanuts, it's cheese, it's floral. It's a party.
Yeah, it's super well rounded. That's like so many.
But when I smell this, it takes me home. So this is southern Jalisco for me, the terruño, the terroir. This is from Chancuellar, Jalisco, which is very close to Zapotitlan de Vadillo.
I feel like I could smell and sniff a mezcal more than I could sip it. I mean, I could keep sipping it too, don't get me wrong, but like the aromas, I'll just keep visiting it. I'll sip on it, but I'm always going to go back in there, find another
Yep.
aroma.
Me too. Part of the enjoyment is sniffing it, smelling it. I always tell people spend a good amount of time smelling it because it's part of enjoying a good mezcal. And typically, what you're going to be smelling is not what you're going to be tasting. So it's part of like that organoleptic properties of the agaves, right? And it's going to take you to memories and
It's very, I have found it that when I've tasted it's rare to smell and then taste the same thing. It happens, but yeah, it's always like what you don't expect. And then the aroma is one thing, the external smell, and then you taste it, and then that retro breath, you get like another sense of other things just creeping around, which is cool.
yeah. So first besito, you get acquainted with it. Second besito, it kind of like opens up a little. By the third one, it kind of like hugs.
That's like life.
Yeah.
Sounds like life to me.
So good.
Yeah, this is a nice little journey you took us on right now with these. This is a great set. Let's let's bring it all together now. So the journey that we've just talked about with you, your mission. I'm wearing the shirt from last year's Mezcal Por Siempre.
Nice shirt.
Phenomenal event. For the inaugural event, right? If you were there, you know, it feels like it was a celebration that's been going on for years. And I know we talked to you last time and you're like, dude, right now we're getting ready for the next one, which it's still a ways out, but it's happening, it's going. So tell us a bit about the event and what's coming up.
So Mezcal Por Siempre was born last year, but it's been cooking for a while. And I think well, Ivan Vasquez, my friend, he's the founder of the restaurants Madre, and him and I are the founders of Mezcal Por Siempre. But him and I have been talking for a while about we need a festival that highlights traditional agave distillates, aka mezcales campesinos. But we also have amazing collaborators. It's not just us, right? We have collaborators in Mexico that are constantly talking to us and giving us ideas, and they contribute to this festival as well. So we have Pedro Jimenez from Ante, from Jalisco. We have Diana Pinzon from Puebla. We have Miguel Partida, also from Jalisco, they've done amazing work with the preservation of traditional agave distillates, with the fight. We have Felix Monterrosa, that is part of Maestros del Mezcal. We have Luis Loya from the Mata, from the north, who's pioneering, preserving small batch traditional agave distillates from northern states. We have different collaborators that have been, helping us out. We also have Roland Sanchez here in LA, who's our producer. Without him, I don't know what we would do. He's amazing. This year we have a co-producer, Randy. She's also coming in and helping out, so we're really happy. But I feel like not like the core philosophy, but the philosophy behind Mezcal Por Siempre, it's not only to preserve traditional agave distillates, aka mezcales campesinos from Mexico, but also to highlight the cultural heritage that refers to the relationship that is woven between, that communities, people, natural resources that are reflected in and also represented through their art, gastronomy, cultural references, obviously beverages, and so much more. So it's not just the beverages, it's not just mezcal, but it's the culture behind this amazing heritage drink, which involves all that. So this year we are very excited. We have community also coming again together in Los Angeles like last year, helping us out. We have some sponsors that have already, reached out for funds for, food. We have some of LA's beloved, culinary, creative voices like Burritos La Palma, Poncho Tlayudas, Detroit, Picaresca, Barra Cafe, and the list keeps growing. So we have a lot of things and surprises this year. We have a few maestros and maestras that are coming from different regions in Mexico confirmed already, which is amazing. The first tickets that are going to be on sale, it's at the end of this month, which is I think next week or in 2 weeks. And it's going to be for the VIP. So we're going to roll out a few VIP tickets. Stay tuned, people. So those VIP tickets are going to give you perks. One of those perks is going to be access to the VIP party, which this year is going to be hosted at Bar Flores and Echo Park. So really exciting. My comadre Carla Flores is going to be working on a couple of amazing drinks that are going to be made with, sponsored Mezcal by Malbien and then Cañada Rum by Rocksteady Spirits. And, it's coming together.
It sounds like a lot already.
Yeah.
And there's still more in the works.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think if there's this has been a great chat. I'm thankful that you have joined us today, shared some great mezcales, really cool conversation. We look forward to this event. If there's any other things you'd like to mention or add, remind people where they can hear more from you, learn about more of these great mezcales you've shared. It's open to you.
Well, no, thank you so much for the invitation and for, sharing about mezcales tradicionales. You guys can follow me on Mezcalting on Instagram. Please follow Mezcal Por Siempre for the updates on the tickets and any news on the festival. And if you guys can give a follow to these amazing brands, that would be amazing. If you ever, are looking for amazing mezcales, you can trust any of the expressions of any of these brands. Please be sustainable by the choices you make with what you consume and support small projects, small brands. That's it. Thank you.
There you have it. Make sure to follow those Instagrams, check out those brands. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Right.
Thank you.
No one?
Cool.
Este me lo acabo.